when you see a lot of older DJs doing all vinyl sets, that's what they're doing. They're really making sure the beats are on the right grid. And to me, like, so how I learned how to do it is because until you build this metronome in your own brain and program your brain, you have to kind of like figure out how fast the song is. So you put on a song, and I'd grab a stopwatch because we didn't have anything else but stopwatches. And I'd go through and I would click the stopwatch for 30 seconds. I'm sorry, for a minute. And then I'd sit there and count. So I'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. And then I would label my records with a computer label on the corner, like a little piece of sticker, whatever, and be like, okay, it's 124 beats per minute. And then I would label each song so I would know, because what happens is if you're playing a song that's 120 beats per minute and you're trying to mix into a song that's 114, and these usually will have vocals. If they do have a vocal, it's going to start sounding like Alvin and the Chipmunks. It's going to be real high pitched. The vocal's going to go out of phase, and then it's going to sound horrible. So you have to be very selective in programming. So that's how I learned how to program, and I learned how to obviously memorize the songs that go together. And it takes a long time, and it takes years to kind of perfect it. And but I think I got to a good stage where I was being kind of recognized as one of the pioneer DJs in Denver. And Denver's had such a huge music background, and so many DJs, so many artists that have came out of Denver that are still successful. Like when I was growing up, the big DJs were like, Vitamin D, the Pound Boys, and who else was it? Well, of course, Hippie. Hippie was already touring the world, and he was from Denver, and he was, he was playing all over the world, and I was stuck here in Denver. And it's amazing to see how these artists just have kind of paved the way for other artists, but not by like doing anything like, hey, here's a hand-me-down gig, but they just kind of showed you, if you want to be on the next level, this is what you have to do.
Yeah, and then it's just that it's possible, it's an
Right.
expander for you, for your mind, like, oh, okay, here's someone from Denver and here's what they could do, you know?
it I think the most important part to kind of understand is that everyone has like that creative side and that creative spark inside. It's how you come up with this sound for who you are, and the sound to represent what you do. And if somebody puts on one of your songs, they're going to know it's you. And letting your music talk for who you are is probably one of the most important things and the hardest things that you're going to have to learn as an artist.
Mm, that's good advice. How did you learn that about yourself?
I always, I kind of always go back to my roots of like Motown and R&B, like growing up as a kid. But I think for the most part, the music that I like to play is what I wanted to sound like. So I would always pick a song that was like my favorite song and be like, okay, I'm going to rewrite the song. Even if I tried to rewrite it exactly the way it was,
Mm,
it wouldn't turn out that way, because it's impossible, because I don't have their software that they're using or their keyboards that they're using. You can only get so close, but it's not going to be the exact same thing. And I think what really kind of sparked me to keep going with music was I started writing music with another good friend of mine, my best friend. His name is Wyatt Earp, and we got signed to a label out of New York City in basically gosh 2000, 1999.
mhm.
And so we got signed to this big label called Vibrant out of New York, and we got signed by this by and these guys that are still that signed my track. They're still DJing, Kenny Dope, and then another guy named Onions, DJ Onions. They signed my first release ever. And these guys are huge artists, and they believed in me and Wyatt. And I was like, man, how crazy is this? I'm just this kid from Denver, a little small cow town, nothing to where it is now.
Yeah.
And
That's what, 25 years ago. So that's like,
yeah, we didn't even have Coors Field wasn't even there.
yeah.
So like,
Nothing downtown. Remember that? I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
that first apartment building that got put up down there by the skate park.
yeah,
Um, when yeah, and like yeah, in the early 2000s. So it's Denver has certainly changed a lot. That's for sure.
yeah. So getting signed to a New York label, like
Mhm.
having a piece of vinyl that the world is playing, I was just like, wow, this is incredible. And then that's when I started getting booked to go play out of state. So I started getting booked to play in San Francisco, in
The record? Do you mean like from you and Wyatt having those records out?
yeah, that was the start of it.
Mhm.
Definitely. Because when I got to play out of state, they were like, oh, you're on Vibrant from New York City, but you're in Denver, like you're already making things happen outside of your city.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you know if you're going to be, if you want to compete, and it's just like sports, if
Hmm.
you want to compete at a very high level nationally, you probably have to be the best player in the state. So why would you venture outside of your state if you aren't the best in your state, or like proving yourself, I
Yeah.
guess is the way that I would say it. Because um I like I said, if I never played anywhere in Denver, I would still be playing, like probably as much as I could. But I've played everywhere, and I've worked with some amazing people, and I've had great opportunities, and I'm always going to be grateful and thankful for it. But like, I think my time is you know it's more important right now in Miami, or in San Francisco, or LA, or Mexico, or Chile. Like those are the places that I love playing.
So actually tell us a little bit more about what's happening right now, because we're in this unprecedented global pandemic. And
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there's been several gigs for you that have been personally canceled. Um, can you tell us a little bit about how it's actually affected what you've had scheduled or what you've been doing, especially in terms of live performances? And then let's talk a little bit about what you think the long-term effects might be, because you mentioned earlier we were chatting, and it's like it's kind of like a new normal that's being formed, and people are kind of realizing what is super important for us right now and all of that. So yeah, I guess tell us first, like practically, what kind of gigs have you lost because of this, or that are being rescheduled, and then do you think it's going to have long-term consequences for us, for the music industry?
Yeah, so first off, I was scheduled to play. I was booked to play at the Winter Music Conference for the 35th year anniversary in Miami, in South Beach, and that got canceled. I got notified 2 weeks before they canceled, because the state of Florida was in a state of emergency.
Hmm.
So they wanted to keep going. They wanted to make Winter Music Conference happen, and Ultra Music Festival. And the director was like, no, we're not going to do it. We can't do it. We can't put our artists at risk. We can't risk anything, because you're talking lawsuits.
Yeah.
If people come down with this virus because of a music festival, there's going to be lawsuits. And at that time, so Winter Music Conference was going to happen in March 15th. And I announced a week before Winter Music Conference and let everyone know that I was not going to be performing because of the virus.
Hmm.
And people on social media were like, are you kidding me? Or like, are you really, dude? Like, why are you freaking out? And like, I'm like,
Yeah,
man,
'cause March 15th was like right when people were starting to take it seriously, I think. Very beginning of it.
well, no one was taking it serious. But the problem is the state of Florida, they already had cases that were being reported. And at this time, Italy was on lockdown, and people were losing their marbles and out singing Katy Perry at night, like going stir crazy.
Mm.
And I'm sitting here going, man, like, I don't, like, this is not this is not something that I want to do, because it's like, who wants to go play at a party where people are scared about dying or
Yeah.
getting sick?
Yeah.
So I we canceled Winter Music Conference. I had 3 gigs. I was going to be playing opening ceremonies for Winter Music Conference, which is a huge, huge deal.
Yeah.
And
Well,
and
congratulations for scoring that gig.
yeah, yeah. So it's been sidelined. I had to cancel. I had 2 gigs in San Francisco that I was going to be playing, a gig in Los Angeles I was going to be playing,
Mhm.
and then I was going to be playing in Playa del Carmen and in Tulum, and all of those got canceled. So I'm not so, I guess, upset about them being canceled. I'm just upset that the fact that um, that we're in a really weird position right now as artists, and I wouldn't say upset. I would just say that I'm really curious to see what's going to happen, because no one's buying music. All the DJs are grounded. They're going nuts. They're playing live streams from their bathrooms. I mean, it's like, their kitchens, their living rooms. Like Luciano did a live stream from his living room, because he has nothing to do, because he's been touring and jet setting his whole life, and now he's stuck, and we're all stuck. So it's a good time to be creative, but it's also a good time to do some serious soul searching on, like, how am I going to come out of this productive?
Mhm.
You're going into this tunnel. We're all going into this tunnel right now, and we want to make sure there's light at the end of the tunnel. How are we going to all come out of this productive and happy?
Mhm.
And what's going to happen with the music industry? I've read predictions, and these are opinions, but we're talking spring of 21.
Before live shows are going again?
That's what they're predicting. They're saying this is going to last like 18 months. And realistically, if you think about like where our country or our city and our hospitals are at, like, no one's ready for this. We weren't ready for
Yeah.
it. And
So, like, tell us a little bit more about these live streams, and because so I want to switch into talking a little bit more about legalities and sort of royalties and issues and things that people are learning about in their music business education. So, one of the things you were talking about is these live streams, and
right.
one would think that the music they're playing would be garnering performance royalties, right? But if people are playing live sets on Facebook Live or whatever other platform, um, what are the implications of that for you as, like, let's say, an artist, and then on the other side of that, as a label manager, as you think about how the money flows for that?
So that's a very wow, that's such a great topic. So what's happening is, okay, so when it comes down to all these DJs that are, so here's the problem.
Okay.
The first problem is that the DJs that are playing, they're asking for donations for
Yeah.
their. I don't think that, I think that the live streams, the problem is that they're streaming royalties all over the place. So the people that own those tracks,
Hmm.
um, they've already been paid and they're going to get paid, but they're not getting paid on Facebook streams. So
Right.
that's why all the Facebook DJs are going to Twitch. But if you watch the live streams that are up on Beatport through the Reconnect series that they're doing, none of the DJs are asking for money. The money that comes in is being donated towards the COVID-19 kind of like foundation. And I don't know specifically which one it is,
Mhm.
but but they're not asking, the artists aren't even getting paid. They're doing this as a service for our industry.
Well, but you still get a performance royalty on it. So you're talking about like a cut of the if they got donations.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So realistically, if, let's say for instance, I was going to get on Facebook and go, hey, I'm going to DJ live and I'm going to play, let's say I play all of Armin van Helden's tracks, and just Armin van Helden, and I'm like asking for donations,
yeah.
I'm going to probably be getting a knock on the door or an email or somebody soliciting to me from the royalty department for Mr. Armin van Helden saying, "Hey Ben, why are you playing Armin's music and asking to get paid?"